Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. Carol's gonna come after me for copyright.
Oh, Fiona.
Well, it's quarantine time. I'm gonna do some paint tutorials. We'll see. Right here, I've got my, what is this? I don't know, like a 6x8. Is that something? And I just taped the sides of it. Because it's honestly the most satisfying part of painting is peeling the tape off. So I've got this palette that I've kind of created here. It's super messy because I'm kind of a messy person. Here it is. It's a hodgepodge of all kinds of colors, and I just mix all over my palette. I use this a lot for traveling. My warmer tones, my cooler tones, and then a mix. But yeah, I've got my whole mug of brushes here. It's a plethora. I think I'll do some sort of landscape, is what I'm thinking. I've been drinking this kombucha. It may or may not have 6.5% ABV, I can't tell you for sure. Ilasa hard kombucha, ginger lemon. It's gluten-free. It is so good if you're a kombucha lover like me. Quarantine, and I'm gonna drink hard kombucha and paint. So, all right, let's get started. So I was just searching through my photos. This one has always been one of my favorites, so I think I want to try to paint it. I always get intimidated because I don't want to like copy it exactly. Not exactly, but it's going to be my inspiration. Is it going to show up on here? That one. Is not so pretty. It's freaking beautiful. But I want to kind of set my horizon line just to have like a reference. So I kind of want to make it, I don't know, like 1/3 of the way up the paper. So I'm just going to like make a light little line. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I just want to put a little line there to have a reference. That's like, I think the only thing I want to mark down on this. Now that I've got my horizon line, I'm going to start mixing up my colors. So I've got this towel that I've dedicated as my paper towel because currently it's April 2nd, 2020, so there are no paper towels on the shelves anymore. If you're lucky enough to have paper towels, go ahead and use those. I'm gonna mix up, we're gonna start with the light colors first because we don't want, if you start with the dark colors, it tends to get a little more mudded, a little muddled out. Something like that. Words apparently are hard. I wanna like create some sort of this peachy color that we see here around the horizon right there. Let's get started. So I already kind of have this color here. This is a Princeton Round size 6. So I'm just gonna add color to this. I probably don't want that. So we're looking for that yellowy, peachy. It's a good idea too to have a piece of paper to test it on, especially when you first start, just to see kind of what you're working with. I can tell by just because I've done this for a while that it's not the color I want, so I'm going to add some of this peachy color in, just wet it down, add to it, but that's a little too peach, so I want to add, this is super pigmented, so it a little goes a long way, but I want to add some of this Opera Rose, and that's a professional watercolor, and that looks quite nice. So I would like to mix up my colors in advance so that I don't have to like be mixing them and then all of a sudden my color is dry and it's hard to like re-wet once it's on the paper. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my kind of blue tones, and there's obviously some purple, so I'm gonna add some purple in here. I don't remember the name of this one, but it's some sort of violet, the Windsor and Newton. I'm gonna add it to my blues. I don't want to get so much of that green re-wet. And this one is Paynes gray, which is like my absolute favorite color ever. So we're going for that darker, because once we get in the middle up here, like we can kind of adapt and adjust and also add more water to lighten things up a bit. So I kind of want to get like the most pigmented version of this. Not the most, but you know, some sort of nice pigment in there. Okay. And that looks pretty nice to me. And I'm going to use this brush right here. It's a size 18 Dalbe 530p. It's just a big flat wash brush. Just wet down this whole, actually everything. You want to have a like decent amount of water, otherwise by the time you put color on it, it's going to dry up. but you don't want too much where it's just like running in puddles. So it's kind of a fine line. All right, now I'm gonna go back to my Princeton Round brush. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm gonna keep my wash for a minute, and I'm going to dry it off so that I'm not adding more water, and go into my peach color. I'm gonna add that like right around the horizon, right here, because that's where the light source is coming from. So that's gonna be the lightest area. And this brush is thirsty, so it's picking up color with like no problem. So I'm probably gonna have to mix a little bit more of that, and I'm just gonna kind of go up because it definitely blends in. Get a little more of that peach mixed. Peachy pink. And in the center, I kind of want that to be like I want that center to be pretty colorful because that's where all of the light's coming from. Okay, now I'm going to start on the other end, and I'm going to start adding this blue purple, and it's going to be right up at the top because that's where it starts. And see, that's what I was saying before. When you get that water in there, it doesn't add so much pigment. So I'm going to mix this up a little bit and get more pigment. And I'm also going to add it down here because it's all a reflection. We've got to remember that. Okay, and once it gets towards the middle, I'm going to dip my brush and just kind of wet it down. So when we blend it, it just blends super nicely. I don't want it to be too wet though, otherwise it'll just like pick up that color and run away with it. So we don't want that. Okay, that's a nice like light wash on top there. Hello, is it still going? Okay. So now it's all wet and it's got the color, but we can also build on this. So I'm gonna get more of that peach, and I'm gonna add, ooh, that's nice. Like a nice little stripe through there. And just build on that pigment. Okay. Go back in, make my blue maybe a little darker blue this time, and add some like of that teal color that I have. I wish I had the names of these out. Maybe I'll take them out sometime and write them down. Okay. And each brush stroke is going to leave like a mark, kind of a suggestion of where that brush was. So when you're doing a wash like this, you kind of want to be selective and careful of where you lay everything. I'm going to take some more purple and just add it to this middle part here. And you know, it's your sky, so you can do whatever you want to with it. Bob Ross the crap out of it. I just like kind of this mixture here. I'm going to get some of this more blue also in the Paynes gray and add that to the top and the bottom. So it's a little bit more. If you go straight, also it'll give you more of a nice effect. I'm going to add more purple into this as we come down to the center because it kind of mixes in there. Purple, and I'm going to wet it down a bit. Okay, now I'm going to completely like just rinse off my brush, maybe like dry it just a bit, and start to blend in here. Okay. And the thing about watercolor is also like you kind of want to act fairly fast because if it dries, and you might not be able to manipulate it as much as you want to, or in the way that you want to. I'm going to go back into my peach and kind of run it up here so we don't just have the blue coming in. Okay. So we also have some like pretty pink clouds up there. So I'm going to make this peach color a little pinkier. Still peachy because up here, yeah, okay. We want it pretty pigmented because it's going to go into that blue. So I'm just going to lay these clouds, honestly, wherever I feel like it because it's still wet. You don't want to, you want your color to be pretty liquidy here so that your clouds show up. You don't want to do too many strokes before you go back into your color because it's going to pick up that purple color also. So, which is good, but at the same time you don't want, when you're adding this bright pink into here for your clouds. You don't want to make them all purpley because that's not kind of the look we're going for. So you can even add them back here because they kind of fade back. And clouds are usually kind of multi-dimensional. So I'm going to kind of go back into this purple color too and add more purple and add that to the tops. Ooh, but I'm going to mix it in with a little of the peach so it's not so strong. Because by the light source, the clouds are going to be obviously lighter because that's where the light is shining from. So we're just going to add a little dimension to these clouds, just kind of wherever you feel like the tops should be. And these are kind of wispy. They're not super intense or like even defined really. So we're just going to add a few little globs of that. And then down here, it's wet and dry, so we're going to kind of blend that in. I'm going to take a dry brush and lift the top, because since we're closer to the light source as well, we can have lighter clouds. I might add a little pink back into this. But just kind of lift that bottom so that so we get the light source and it's not just kind of blending all in here. See, I dropped a made a little accident, but okay, we're gonna lift some of these up here too, just to give it a little more atmospheric tone and just more dimension. Where the light source is coming from, we're gonna define that a bit more. And each time I touch this, I'm just drying it off on my rag here, so that I can, the brush is thirstier and will pick up that pigment from the paper. So this sky is also a little more blue than our purpley in this picture. Honestly, that's because I don't really know how to make a good purple right now. My purple is a little light for my liking, and my blues don't really mix well with it, so it's still kind of a work in progress, which is totally fine. But anyways, so I'm going to let this dry and see how it turns out, but I think that's good enough for me right now as far as the sky goes. But before we do anything else, this needs to dry completely, so you have to be patient. This is what my sky is looking like at the moment. See, it's still pretty wet, and it's not exactly like this. So when you use inspiration, like, don't worry if it doesn't look exactly like what you're trying to do. Just go for it. Just kind of use the techniques. So this sky is just like a light wispy sky, kind of like the one here, and I'm digging it so far. So I'm gonna let this dry, and then we'll start adding some foliage and such. Sometimes this is the worst part. It takes forever to dry. Be patient, or don't do it. Don't touch it. Leave it alone. Keep yourself occupied. Don't touch it. Don't do it. Once this is like dry to the touch, then we're good. This is obviously not like but that's okay because it's just inspiration. It's your world, as Bob Ross would say. Or no mistakes, just happy accidents. A happy little tree, happy little cloud, a happy bunch of mistakes, a happy don't know what the heck you're doing. It's all happy. It's all good. It's your world. Let's move on. Since this dried kind of funky, just the water, because this part dried before we put the clouds on, it's a little interesting. I kind of like it, and I kind of don't. So the horizon line's about there anyways. I think I'm going to add the land right around there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a smaller brush this time. I'm going to use this brush. It is one of my favorites. It's Silver Black Velvet. It's a size 4, 3000 series. I love it. It's a floppy tip, and it's a little bit hard to control. Another like the Princeton Round brushes, like the one I used earlier, that would work totally fine too if you just had a smaller one. This is a round size 1, which is a little too small. If I had a size 2, I'd use it, but I don't. So the silver velvet one it is. Okay, so I'm just going to dip into my black here, and I'm going to get a pretty pigmented black. I'm going to get some water, and it's just going to be pretty much straight black. I might add a little of this Paynes gray into it just to give a little bit more dimension. So I want it pretty pigmented. And we're just going to add whatever kind of land formations you want in here. So I'm going to go just kind of along the lines of what has dried here. And we kind of want to keep that line. We don't want it to dry super hard, so I'm going to add some color to it. And I think my horizon line, I'll just make that right there. That's about good. It's not super even. Just even that out. Okay. And then this, we'll just add most of the pigment up at the top there, so it kind of fades into the rest of it. Okay. All right. There's our horizon line. Looks all right. So since this is water, we're gonna add a little reflection in here too. So we want a little mirrored image in here. So for me, I'm just gonna turn it upside down because I like to work right to left. And it works better for me working upside down. Some people are better off this way and just like going straight for it. Sometimes I do that, but I feel like it ends up a little off when I do that. So I'm just gonna turn it around, and we're gonna have the same color. So it's gonna be that blue and the Paynes gray mixture, but it's gonna be a bit more watered down. It's a little more diluted because it's a reflection, so it's not the real thing. So we're going, and it's going to be pretty still water, I think, because it's not going to be moving around and creating like waves and whatnot. So, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but we want it to be just so you can tell that it is indeed a reflection. Okay. We're going to match it up at the horizon line up here. Okay. So just like that, we have a horizon. And then we need something in the foreground too, you know, like it's a little just one-dimensional right now. So obviously we didn't go for the same exact thing. Inspiration! Can't stress that enough. But I do kind of like the way that this goes out, and then it's almost like a little bay, which this is Kealakekua Bay. So maybe we'll make it a little bay and make it kind of round around here and then put the trees coming off of it. Sure, let's try that. So I'm going to mix up more of that black and Paynes gray, but I'm going to make it really, really pigmented because this is going to be the closest thing we have to us up in the foreground. So I want it to be really dark. I also want to make sure this is like dry, otherwise our color is going to bleed into it. So where do I want this to start? So I'm just going to go for it. Then I'm going to quickly add more of this color to it. Before it dries in a line that we can't really come back from. And we can add a little more water as we get down to the bottom here. But I do want more color actually, because we'll just like show a little texture in here somewhere. And we're gonna have some like little plants and stuff off of here, I think, because it's kind of tropical looking. This time I am gonna use the Princeton Round size 1. And we're gonna just put some like random little foliage, some seagrass or something off of the side of it. But with this, I think it just needs a little darker. Okay. Just kind of whatever. Things in the sea tend to go in the same direction because the wind blows in that way. So I'm gonna kind of use that. And they're a little like little oats or something at the top here, whatever these are. And I don't know, maybe a few more here. And up here. Just kind of lightly make the foliage what you would like it to be. Okay, and that'll be fine for now, but we're going to go back to this silver brush here, and I'm going to add a tree up in here because these are papaya trees in the photo, but I'm gonna just go for a straight palm. So I'm gonna start at the base here and kind of curve out. I want it thicker at the bottom, obviously, and a little bit lighter at the top. Okay, I'm going to go back to my round 2, dip that in the same color, and I'm going to just add my palm fronds from out there. See which direction everything's kind of hanging in, put the basic outline of them, and add my leaves. So obviously palms are double-sided. They've got leaves on both ends and they kind of meet to the tip of the frond. And we're just gonna add those to every, kind of like throw the leaves in the direction that you think they'd fall in naturally. So like, okay, I'm gonna add some more color into these because they look a little light. These look like they kind of fall that way. I feel like there'd be something in here too. It's okay to overlap them because that's one of my biggest things I think with paintings is like overlapping leaves and foliage and stuff. I get kind of weirded out by it because it's like I don't want to cover what I just painted, but it's good to, I think. It makes it look more natural. Things kind of fall the way that they fall. And that is what it is. So don't try to like have too much control over this, just kind of throw it down. These would fall a little more heavy. It's a big guy over here, so. And be careful too, because I have the tendency to want to like dip my hand in places that are still wet. Don't do it. Telling you from experience, please don't do it. You kind of want to like lighten your brush strokes by the time you get to the end too. And sometimes too, like the other side, they're not equal. So like you kind of see the other fall off. I don't really know how to explain that, but I think you just kind of get it once you start playing with it, and the directions that they go in. Maybe because I think I still struggle a lot with it. Trying to figure out where the palms land, but it's hard when you don't have a reference sometimes. This one's obviously going to go out a lot further than it does. I think my video stopped recording. I need to be better. I don't really know how to video very well, how to use it. But I'm just finishing up my palm tree here, trying to make out the natural directions these leaves would be going and where they would be. Sometimes it helps to like take a step back and stop adding things and to just see what you need. I don't know how to explain that. Just definitely take a step back sometimes when you add things, because sometimes you get a little carried away. So up here there's like the little floofs, the little fronds and stuff. So even though it's just shadows, like we want to add some detail in there, because there's always that little like scrap at the base of the palm tree. Whether it's coconuts or fluff, we're going to just add it in there. Maybe add in a few little like markings just to show a little bit of dimension and some depth. It doesn't need much because it is black, but we'll just add it in there and kind of at the base of the palm there. Alright, I was going to add another palm, but I think that with that, and like we'll just add a little seagrass around, I think that's probably good. I don't think we need another one in there. We'll just add these little sea oats, whatever you want to call them. Add some in there. The base of the palm. Add it down here, overlapping these ones so that it's a little more natural looking. And I think that if we add too much more, it's going to be a little too much. I think that that's a really good start. It's a good beginner painting, I believe. So now is the best part. We get to peel the paint off. We don't want to peel the paint off. We're going to peel the tape off. The most satisfying for sure. So one at a time, because that's the best way. Look at that clean cut edge. Yes. Ooh, it's so pretty. Oh no, dang it, that happens. Yeah, this is dollar store washi tape, and this happens more often than not with it. So I recommend maybe like washi tape that is more than $1, because this is so satisfying. That like this sucks. Still turned out pretty nice. It's a nice little serene scene for your home, for your viewing pleasure. That's too bad. But there we go. There's a nice little painting for you. Not quite the same, but the inspiration is there. So if you like this video, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Leave comments. Leave some feedback. If you try this out, let me know how it goes. Check out my art Instagram. It's Roaming Dreams Design. I'll tag it below. I'm saying all this stuff and I don't even know what I'm saying and if I'm actually going to do it, but we're going to try. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time on Quarantine Chronicles, Kaylee Kombucha edition. Stay healthy. I don't know how to end this. This is so awkward. But anyways, bye.